The New York Giants were just rumored in a move for the perfect piece to fix this defense. Let's talk about it. My name is Paul. This is Big Apple Sports. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you very much. Please just take a quick second, like and subscribe. Does me a huge solid. And then also comment below, who do you want the Giants to get as head coach? Who do you want them to take in the draft? I always like talking football with you guys, so hit me up in the comments. Obviously, it's been a disappointing season. 4 games left, and people are already talking about who's going to be the new coach, who are the Giants going to target in the draft. And the Giants were just linked today by, I believe it was CBS, for who they think the Giants could target in the draft. And I think this would be perfect. And we'll talk about a few different scenarios in which this could happen. But the guy that they are linked to is Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. If you aren't a huge college football fan, I know a lot of people in New York aren't because Rutgers and Syracuse aren't very good at college football. There isn't really a good New York college football team. I'm actually a huge Michigan fan, so I have watched Arvell Reese of Ohio State terrorize my favorite team. But I am like a huge watcher of the Big Ten. I actually have my own Big Ten YouTube show. So I've been watching Arvell Reese all season long, and the dude is an absolute stud. So he plays linebacker. You almost never see a linebacker go number 1, but he's so versatile. He can play off ball a little bit. He can come off the edge. He's like exactly what you would want in a modern day linebacker. And now they have him going number 1 to the Giants. But I really think if the Giants end up being like 3rd, there's a good chance he's there as well. And there maybe could even be a scenario in which the Giants trade down a couple spots, add an extra pick in the 2nd or 3rd, and still come away with Arvell Reese, who probably is the best player in the draft. So just some comparisons that I've seen of him. This is actually a Saints article talking about drafting him. They compare him in this to Micah Parsons. And we'll get into a second. I know a lot of you right now are probably like, Paul, don't we have enough edge rushers? Aren't there other holes on the defense? I'll get into that in a minute. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about like who he is as a player. So he'll be 21 by the time next NFL season starts. But he's 6'4", 243 pounds, and is known as having like just super long arms and like the incredible length that you desire in a linebacker. And a comparison Bleacher Report had for him, I loved this. It says they see him as Demario Davis, but with more length. And they gave him a grade higher than Micah Parsons and Nakobe Dean as just like a couple comparisons. But I love seeing Demario Davis with more length. I had accidentally pulled up this article a little earlier. We'll look through it now. If you're not familiar with Demario Davis, he is a Saints linebacker. He's really not known as much as an edge rusher. And that's why I say, like, I think a lot of you hear, like, he can blitz off the edge, and you're like, my goodness, we have Thibodeau, we have Abdul Carter, we have Brian Burns. Like, are we really going to spend another top 5 pick on an edge rusher? But he is very different than these guys, and I think he's exactly what the Giants need. He's so fast. Like, obviously he hasn't run his official 40 yet, but they are expecting him to be in like the 4.5 range, which is crazy for a 6'4", 240-pound linebacker. I can tell you firsthand, having watched him a ton, like there were so many times in like the Michigan Indiana game, the Penn State game especially I watched, where like they all have good running backs, and you'd see them, you'd be like, oh, they got the edge, this is going to be a big game, and then Arvell Reese would just fly out of nowhere and wrap him up and drive him down and tackle him, and he's just the leader of that defense, which is one of the best defenses in college football history statistically, and just flies all over the field. He is so fast. And so this comparison to Demario Davis with more length, like obviously everyone loves that length in a linebacker, but just looking at Demario Davis's career, so since 1999 when they started tracking tackles for loss, there have been 131 defenders who've had 100 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. And like, that's an impressive season. Obviously, 131 times in like 26 years, you can do the math. That's about 5 people a year do that. But looking at like Brian Urlacher, Ray Lewis, 2 of the best linebackers in NFL history, each only have done that 4 times. Demario Davis has done it 7. So like, he's just one of these guys who, like, he's going to get a lot of tackles. He's going to sack the quarterback. He's going to get in the backfield and hit the running back behind the line of scrimmage. And that's exactly the kind of guy Arvell Reese is. And it's exactly the kind of guy that the Giants need. I mean, I don't need to spend too much time on it. You all know it. This Giants running defense is atrocious. They and the Bengals are within a yard of each other. The third worst defense is 15 yards less per game. That's the Jets. So like, a wide gap between the Giants and Bengals and everyone else. And when you're comparing defenses, you do not want to be compared to the Bengals defense. Like, any single statistic out there that is like, yep, this team and the Bengals defense are the only 2 teams doing this, like, that's not where you want to be, because the Bengals defense is an absolute disgrace. But then again, so has the Giants. The Giants defense has been a disgrace this year. And I do think in a lot of ways they're going to be better next year just by having a defensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, just by being healthier. I assume they're going to add some pieces. But a guy like Arvell Reese really could be the missing piece to making this an elite defense. And I do think if you draft him, because like, he is going to play a little bit of edge. He's that kind of guy. He'll play a little linebacker, play a little edge. He's got the speed. Like, in some ways, like, I think Abdul Carter is a better pure pass rusher, but they're kind of using Abdul Carter in the way that Arvell Reese is built to be used, and that's just not who Abdul Carter is. So in my opinion, the best case scenario here is you keep Brian Burns as the one edge, you keep Abdul Carter as the other edge, and you probably trade Kayvon Thibodeau for hopefully a first. That's what the Giants were trying to get at the deadline, but at least a second, maybe a third on top of it. Get more draft picks, bolster that interior defensive line, improve the secondary. There's lots of different ways they could use those picks. But I really think if you have Burns on one edge, Abdul Carter on the other edge, and you got Arvell Reese, he can go anywhere, that would be just the most stacked group of rushers in all of the NFL. And they would terrorize opposing quarterbacks and opposing running backs. Because that's the one thing, like, Burns, Thibodeau, Carter, they are all great players themselves. Great. Burns is great. Abdul Carter, I think, will be. Thibodeau is very good. But they all kind of are like just the same role. And you need a guy like Arvell Reese to come in who can be like your Swiss Army knife and be linebacker this play and edge this play and come up the middle this play. And trust me, guys, I have watched him many times. The dude flies all over the field. He will make a huge impact against the run, and I really think he would be the missing piece. And if they can trade down a couple picks and still get him and get a king's ransom for the number 1 pick, like, this team is going to be scary. So I'll be keeping you up to date on, more draft rumors as I get them. You don't want to miss out on that, so just like and subscribe, and then let me know what you thought and what you think of Arvell Reese, or who you would want in the draft if you're not a fan of that. I always enjoy talking football with you guys, so we'll catch you next time.